Hi everyone, welcome to my video. Today's video I'm going to be doing an upgrade on the bike that I've been planning to do for the last couple of weeks, since I got the bike really. I'm going to be swapping the front chainring. The bike came originally with this SRAM Force 42T 1x chainring, and I've decided to swap it out for an oval one, and this is what I'm going to be getting. AbsoluteBlack CX gravel 1x oval chainring. Right, first up, one of the first things to do is to loosen the non-drive side crank arm. This has two bolts on it. There is a cap here which is a 10mm, which is the outer cap. You can see that there. The inner one is 8mm, and what you need is an 8mm Allen key to loosen that off. Now, non-drive side, this side obviously, is anti-clockwise, and it's a self-extracting bolt that's just inside there. So you're going to need to apply some pressure, and I've pre-loosened this one, to be honest, because they are a bit of a struggle to get off, but hopefully this will show you in essence what you need to do with it. So this is how I get it off. Firstly, to loosen it, you need to have the bike secure. This is an 8mm Allen key inserted into the inner 8mm bolt. What you need to do is lift it or pull it anti-clockwise. So securing the crank with one arm, it's not going to go forward, it's essentially going to pull it this way around, and obviously that's the way that the drive would go, so you've already got some tension there as it is. So holding the Allen key, make sure it's securely in, and give it a very hard pull this way, and you will feel it loosen. It's also an advantage at this point as well, now that you've loosened it and you've got some tension on it for the pressure, it's to take off the chain, because obviously when this comes off the crank you're going to need to pull this out, and you need just to make sure the chain's out of the way. So I'm just going to pull the chain over and take it off, and then we'll resume from there. So what you need to do is just keep unscrewing this, and eventually crank arm, just keep jiggling it a little bit, it just comes off like that. So you can see the grease inside, and that's the axle. Next up, once the crank arm's off, you're going to need to push this through. Now you can use it with the back of your hand like I've just done. You pull it off, and just be careful to retain this washer. This keeps the dust out of the axle. You've got one on the drive side as well, so be careful not to lose that one as it comes out. And then we'll take it in the workshop, take it off. So now that we've got the drive side crank off, if you turn it around, axle side, you'll see these three retaining bolts. And these are three T25 Torx bolts. So you're going to need a driver like this to get them off. It's not an Allen key fitting on this one. And I believe these are tightened between 5 and 7 Newton meters. So they don't need a massive amount of force to get off. But you've just got to be careful, obviously, when you're putting the wrench in, that you're not going to strip the heads by having them in at the wrong angle. So let's try and take one of these off. It's pretty straightforward. What I'll do is, just to save a bit of time, I'll loosen the other two, and then we'll take this off. So now we've taken these three bolts off. It's just a case of carefully lifting that off. Chainring, the old one. You can see it's a new bike. It's literally about 3 weeks old, so there's not much to clean there. I will give it a wipe down and put some more grease on it, but just keep everything tidy. But as you can see, there's not much on there, and there's still the original grease as well. So that's the one that I'm taking off, which is the 42T 11-speed X-Sync ring. And what we'll do is we're going to weigh this one, and the ring is 144 grams, so 144 grams. So now that we've taken the X-Sync chainring off, this is what we're going to replace it with. It's the AbsoluteBlack Oval CX Gravel 1x direct mount for SRAM cranks. On the front of the packaging there is the tooth size, which is a 40 on this one. The one that I've just taken off was a 42. Unfortunately, they didn't have that in stock where I bought it from. I got it from a website called Pedalon, which is a UK website. I did look on AbsoluteBlack's own website, but they wanted, I think, £79.99 for the ring, and I think £8 delivery from Poland, which I felt £80 odd was a bit too expensive. So this one from Pedalon 40T was £62.99 free postage, so about £22 saving there on that one. So it comes in this green, I suppose, cardboard envelope. On the back of it, 40, which is the tooth, 40 black CX oval SRAM, and it's the GXP and BB30 fitting for the bottom bracket. So GXP BB30. It says on there £69.99. It was actually cheaper on the website. So opening the package, take the ring out of the envelope. So there's not much packaging with it, to be fair, and that's the design. So you can see on there the 3 lugs, which will match up with the bolts that we've just taken out. So it can only go one way. I'm just spinning it round. You see there's a little bit of detailing on there, a little bit of milling. I don't know if you can quite see that. It's just a bit of a sort of a grain effect to it. Looks quite nice. So the one that we've just taken off is a 144, and this one that's going on is 106. So from 144 to 106. So there is a few grams saving there. I'm not into the sort of weight weenie thing particularly. Obviously I won't put a set of wheels on that were 3 kilos if I had a 1.5 kilo pair in the shed. But for the sake of 30 odd grams, I'm not too bothered about that, to be honest. But yeah, let's see how it goes on. So before I put the new ring on, I'm just going to clean around the axle here just to get the dust off and the grime that's collected in the last few weeks. So I'm just getting that rag into there as much as I can. It's pretty clean, to be honest with you. Not too much to worry about there. And I'm going to reapply some grease, and what I'm going to use is this Lithium Grease, which is water resistant. It's a general purpose grease and it protects against corrosion. So we'll just put some of that on and then we'll put the ring on. So now we've re-greased the crank, we're going to put the chainring on. It can only go one way. So if you look here, we've got the three bolt lugs, and you can see the recess there that the head needs to go in. So that needs to go on the top. So what we'll do is we'll offer it up. You see the 3 bolts on the crank. Put that on, and it goes into place. So what I'm going to do is just loosely put the bolts on and then re-torque it up. It says between 5 and 7, so we'll go midway between those. And what I'm also going to do as well, as per the instructions, is put a little bit of Loctite on, which is thread locker, so just to stop it coming loose. It does say medium, all I've got is high strength, but it'll do for me, I think, so we'll do a bit of that. So what I'm doing now is I'm just putting a little bit of thread lock on, just up to the thread, and then just dropping it into the hole there. I think it's going to be a little bit obscured with my hand, so I do apologise, but I've just taken the socket off the wrench just to get it in there. It's just so it gets that seated and there's no risk of then cross threading. So once it starts going in, don't force it, just loosely tighten, just till you feel it tighten up a little bit, and then we'll do the next one. Okay, so what I've done is I've tightened the bolts up just there's a bit of tension on them, not too much, and I've used this torque wrench. I've set it to 6 Newton meters. It needs to be between 5 and 7. There is thread lock on it, so we'll tighten it up. And if you've not done this before, what I would advise is you go around each one and tighten them up equally. Don't tighten one up until it clicks and then start looking at the other one, because what it does is it distributes the weight unevenly. around the ring or whatever you're trying to torque up. So it's always good to go around it and just give a little bit of pressure as you go around. Just work your way around each one. It's similar to doing a stem. If you're doing the head bolts on the stem, kind of go crossways with it. We don't do sort of side to side, so it just makes it a bit even. If I was going to do this again, there's no point doing it for the sake of this video, but what I would say is clean the grease off this first, because what you get is you get grease around your hands and around the torque wrench, etc. So it would probably be an idea to get the ring on, torque it all up, and then put the grease on, and it just saves a little bit of mess. So there's a tip for you. So I'm just going to go around and tighten these individually now. So just a little bit more tension on that one. They're not quite ready to click on that other one yet. But what you are sure of when you do it is that it's as per the spec. So that one's clicked in. Go on to this one. It should be too far off. Make sure it's secure in. That's in. And that's in as well. So that now is ready to go back on the bike. So now we're back outside and we've got the drive side crank, and we're just going to put it back on the bike. And as you can see on this side, the dust cover is still in place. The other side came out as I took the axle out, obviously. So we're going to put this in nice and carefully. And I might have to put the camera down just to make sure it's all the way through. So we'll pick it up at the other side. So that was fairly straightforward. I managed to push that through with my hand. No tools required on that one. So I am going to make sure that I put the dust cover back on now. You can see the grease side, that was the bit that was already on. And then once this is on, nice and secure, fits on nice and snug that. I'm going to put the crank back on. So again, I have to put the camera down unfortunately until I get that back on and going, and then we'll pick it up from there. So what we've done is we've mounted the crank back on. I'll give it a few turns just to make sure it's on properly. So just supporting the drive side, just carefully keep tightening until you get to the point where you're meeting quite a bit of resistance. It's just about there. And then what we also need to do is, before we give it the final tighten, is just make sure that there's no sideways play in that. So it's not going to move around. Obviously if there's room to manoeuvre, that's going to mean that there's more chance of dust getting in between those seals. So I'm going to give it a final tighten now. I think what I'm going to do is use my body weight. So I'm going to put the crank there against my leg. And I believe that it's about 40 to 50 Newton meters, which is, if you've not got a torque, which I haven't, that goes that far, it's a lot. So we'll give it a good tighten. So it's a bit more awkward putting that on, and you do have to use your body weight on it a little bit, but do be careful when you're putting it on that it doesn't slip, otherwise you will have scars. And then what we're doing is we're going to put the chain on the ring, and then what I'm going to show you is a little thing that's on the force. I'm not sure if it's on the rival, but it's definitely on the force, and I'll show you a little trick. So on the derailleur, there's a little button down here, just about see it, and what you do is it locks out this derailleur spring. So you heard it click there as I released it, and it just applies a tension back to it. Dead easy. So that's the installation complete of the AbsoluteBlack CX1 oval chainring. It went on pretty straightforward. Looks good. I think it looks better than the original, to be fair. I like the spider. Looks quite detailed. So what I'll do is I'll post another video hopefully tomorrow. We'll take it for a ride and see what difference it makes having the oval chainring as opposed to the round. It is supposed to smooth out your pedal stroke going uphill, make it a little bit more efficient. I don't believe it gives you any more power, but there's lots of info out there, so do your homework, have a look at it, see what you think, and if you've got any comments or questions, just post them on the page. So that's all from me. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. If there's anything else that you want to see, any questions you want to ask, just fire away and I'll see what I can do. But for now, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from the Planet X Tempest. For an oval Absolute Black, don't know why I looked down there. Unfortunately, they didn't have a 42T as per the original. So it's not going to move around. Obviously, if there's room to move in a move. Me changing the front chainring on the Planet X Tempest. I'm going to chop something off.